Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Laus Vampire, the main vampire himself, Count Shh, you want to get sued?
Oh boy. This is a fun episode. First of all, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry Yule, and all holidays in between. This episode is coming out.
Kicking
Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, all of them, all of the holidays. Happy holidays to you. This episode, I think, I'm aiming to try to have this come out on the 24th, so day before Christmas, mainly because I really want to ride that Nosferatu wave coming right off the holidays, because there's going to be one, right? There's always some person in the family who's just like, yay, let's go watch Elf for the 50,000th time, or go see Nosferatu, where you literally are watching. Yeah. So this week we are, of course, talking about Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, a movie that I was blown away by, and I am a gigantic vampire movie fan. Like, if out of the horror genre, vampire movies are my favorite. They just always have been. And Nosferatu is, without a doubt, I believe this, and I think our special guest also believe this, that you would not have the horror genre if it was not for Nosferatu in 1922.
I was gonna say, Brian, there's a pretty lady here. What's going on?
John is a little tired because we are recording this not at our usual 10 o'clock at night time. like no joke to our special guest. We typically record way late. We are vampires when it comes to podcasting. But our special guest with us today is none other than, I would call her a TikTok phenomenon, a model, an actress. She is amazing. I've been a fan of her work since, probably about 2 or 3 years or so since I've been on TikTok. But we have Jordan Dwayne, also known as Jordan the Grey Witch, with us. Jordan, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I am fucking stoked. Let's do this.
Yeah. So Jordan, I reached out to her and I was like, we're going to be talking to Nosferatu. Do you want to come on? And literally immediately I got an email back from her. And I was like, holy crap. And Jordan, you have a massive following on TikTok and also Instagram, right?
Yeah, TikTok, it's nearing 600,000. Instagram, I don't use as much. I think there's 25,000 there. But that's just kind of where I dump my pictures and whatnot.
Just 25,000.
Yeah.
Just 25.
Just 25,000. No,
I have 97 people or whatever. I have no idea, but yeah.
I meant in comparison.
In comparison. But I was blown away that you got back to us and that you were so agreeing to come onto the podcast. And then on top of that, we got to see the movie together.
We did.
As a group, well before anyone. This is peek behind the scenes. If you had all listened to our bonus episode, if you joined our newsletter, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we put out bonus episodes that you can only get through our email. Okay. We talked about how we sometimes get press screeners. And, I got a press screener to go see Nosferatu. We went to the Cinemark in Robinson, and always a good time when you go there. And reached out to Jordan. I was like, hey, do you want to come with us? Watch it for free?
Absolutely.
You brought your significant other with you. It was great. We had a great time, and we were blown the fuck away.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
My mom still doesn't understand that I'm pressed, by the way. She does not understand how podcast works. I brought up, I was like, I'm going to get to be able to see Nosferatu ahead of time. And she goes, why do you get to see these movies ahead of time? I'm like, because I'm pressed, Mom. And she had this look on her face. Like I just said that I have psychic powers. I don't what?
His mom really does talk like that.
Now I get to meet this legend.
Yeah. So,
she quit drinking. She's not as fun anymore.
Oh, what a shame.
It's a shame. That's a shame. Yeah. So we got to watch it at a press screener. Really great. I was I thought this movie would be packed. It was not crazy packed. I was kind of surprised by that.
No, it was pretty sparse. It was a limited list.
Yeah. So I was happy we got to see it. I'll just right off the bat, what were your initial reactions to this? Jordan, I'll start with you.
Oh man, I mean, when it comes to Eggers, I mean, he has such a specific vibe, you know? So like if you've seen his other works, The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman, you know, these movies, like if you've seen these, you can immediately recognize that styling. Like he is essentially, in my opinion, I think the king of sort of like dark period pieces, to where he's really doing this specific, you know, vibe. And so Nosferatu absolutely falls in line with these other movies where you can see like, oh my gosh, like it's just absolutely visually stunning. Like every scene is essentially a work of art in and of itself. And you can also see the inspiration from the original. Like he really did like some of the scenes almost shot for shot from the original. Like I've seen some cells where they lined them up and it's like, oh, that's so good. Like he really, I think, paid homage to the original and also made it something absolutely spectacularly its own as well. You know, when you're staying along the same storylines, but I thought it was absolutely beautiful and I love creepy shit. So like take it with a grain of salt. This movie is not going to be for everybody. I think it's going to be for the gothic fans, it's the vampire fans, the horror fans. If you're a fan of Eggers, I think you're going to love it. And even people that might not be, I think you'll still like it. But yeah, 5 stars.
John, your reaction to the movie?
Yeah, I mentioned it from another TikTok person who just threw us on his thing right after we left the movie, is that I think it's fascinating that we are through the looking glass of that Nosferatu was originally Nosferatu because they couldn't get the rights to Dracula. And so they basically made Dracula without calling it Dracula. And now it's become so infamous that it's not the first remake. We had one in the 70s, but but we're getting a remake of a fake Dracula story. So it's fascinating in that sense. And yes, Jordan, I agree with you completely that Robert Eggers is, that his stink, so to speak, is all over this film in such a positive way because, and I'm sure we've lost a few listeners by me saying this, but his contemporary Ari Aster, I think, is a hack fraud. And that Robert Eggers is the real deal. And, he continues to show that, unlike, Ari Aster's, being like, I'm going to put a lady in a bunch of leaves and it's going to be scary. So I think he continues to wow me.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I am not a big, I was not really tuned to Robert Eggers, a ton. I think a lot of people they love The Witch, they love The Lighthouse, they love The Northman. I loved his work in The Lighthouse. I have yet to see The Northman. I actually, after coming out of Nosferatu, I was like, I need to really give some time to this man, because this man really has a pulse on not necessarily the whole elevated horror thing, because that's what I've heard people talk about when they're talking about horror, is like, it's elevated. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? That it's not just hack and slash gore, because there's nothing wrong with that stuff too.
I love me a good Gorno. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Right. A good Gorno. That's a great term there. But whenever they referred to Ari Aster or referred to Robert Eggers, they're like, oh, it's elevated horror. That's not it at all. Horror is horror. And what Eggers has been able to do, in my opinion, is really distill down primal emotions and fears into their purest form. Every character in Nosferatu has that representation of primal fear or terror or sadness. Like, I was kind of thinking about this because we're just in preparation for this. I was like, he really knew how to hit you right in the brain of, this is what terror is. I'm not pussyfooting around. We're literally going to show you it. And then at times not show you things, which I'm like, that takes balls, especially in Hollywood this day, an age where everything is, we're going to show you everything. Like, can you imagine another horror movie where they just, for the entire marketing of the film, decided we're not going to show you the monster?
Blair Witch.
That alone.
Blair Witch.
Yeah. Blair Witch.
And it works.
I hate Blair Witch. I hate Blair Witch with a passion. But it's true, right? It's true, right? I can't think of another movie where we did not see at all. And it was like, we knew who we're going to see, right? We know what Count Orlok looks like, but we never got a chance to see him until you go to watch it. And that is so much tied with his ability to just distill down fear and make it things that you can't see.
Well,
you know?
I mean, forget Blair Witch. Just speaking of Robert Eggers' own work, his first movie, The Witch, there is no quote unquote visible monster.
The Witch,
that.
right? Yeah, you don't see her until the very end.
Right. Yeah. But that's my point. It's just like, I don't know anyone else working in horror today who's just like, yeah, you know what? I know people are going to expect a bald, rat looking character for Count Orlok. I'm just not going to show them. I'm going to show the reaction of everyone else in the movie dealing with Count Orlok. And that terror is what you feel. Like the same thing you're seeing in the marketing materials is the exact same thing that you're going to feel in the theater of, this is absolute terror turned up to an 11. But it's so, and I use this word, Jordan, I told you this when we came out, I'm like, it's so beautifully haunting at the same time.
Yes.
Like it is every, and we're going to talk more about this, but every image in this movie, you could freeze it and it be a painting and it would absolutely work.
Fully agree.
So I was completely blown away by it. I have seen 2 movies this year that have made me immediately want to go back into the theater. Like, if you've ever done that where you go see a movie, you're like, I need to buy a ticket right now and go back right in.
And see it again.
The other one is.
Yeah. So the first one was Dune Part 2.
Yep, there it is.
Okay. The second one is Nosferatu. 2 movies in the same year where I'm like, want to go back in. But, I agree with both of you. It was such a haunting film and something I really haven't seen in a very long time. The last time I saw a vampire movie that gave me this reaction was Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992.
It does have, I think, air of Dracula. And also Crimson Peak. It gave me the vibes of Del Toro's Crimson Peak. So if you like that sort of gothic type vibe, I think you're going to love Nosferatu. Although I think that Crimson Peak was a little bit more campy with the CGI, where Nosferatu does not have that vibe at all. You don't have that. So I mean, when you're dealing with CGI, I think that's always the case. And I think that goes back into what you were saying about not seeing the monster. Because seeing the monster, especially in nowadays when you have that pattern recognition, and you can see the CGI, even if it's good, you can still see it. So I think that sort of takes you out of it. And with Nosferatu, kind of tailing back on what you were saying about, you don't see him. You actually, I believe the first scene we see him in is with Nick Holt. And you hear him before you see him. And hearing him was jarring because you're like, oh shit, that's Bill Skarsgård. The voice was jarring to hear because you're like, oh my gosh, how did they even make him sound that way? Firstly. And secondly, I think Nick Holt did a really good job of displaying that terror that you were talking about, where you can see him visibly upset in the scene. You can see he's terrified, even being in proximity to Orlok. So the theater, that was palpable. And Eggers does a really good job, I think, of sort of holding that tension for a really long time and just keeping you sort of on the edge, not only with the imagery that he's showing you and what's happening, but the sound, the score. He does such a good job of hitting more than one sensory to scare you and to show you that they're scared and that you should be scared too. And I think all the whole cast did such a good job with that. But specifically in the scene with Holt, when he sees Orlok for the first time, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good when we actually get to see him.
I wanted to be
Well, he said he did Mongolian voice,
throat singing,
throat singing, and a lot of prep to do that voice. And I have, here's the thing, Bill Skarsgård kind of has been pigeonholed, kind of in the same way that Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi have been pigeonholed as they're creature actors, right? He was in It. He kind of is just kind of that creature actor. When you need someone, either go to Doug Jones if it's like, hey, I need a skinny guy,
or
in
Andy
makeup,
Serkis.
or Andy Serkis if he's going to be a CGI guy, or now if he's a monster, go to Bill Skarsgård. So like I was completely expecting a bald rat face looking guy that looked like I was expecting that. I was totally expecting that. Doug Jones has a Nosferatu movie, by the way, too, that I have not seen yet. But I was expecting that, and that is not at all what we got. And I was kind of like taken aback by it, and I wasn't sure at first. I'm like, if this is what we're doing? Is it okay? Okay. And it took me a good 24 hours after seeing the movie to be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it.
Well, I don't think they could just replicate like makeup to makeup of the original silent film.
Yeah.
They had to do their own thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I actually went back and I watched Werner Herzog's Nosferatu the Vampire, which is basically a complete remake. Like, complete. And I even went back and I watched Shadow of the Vampire, which, good companion piece, by the way. If you really want, like, a funny Willem Dafoe vampire movie that is, hey, what would happen if, like, Count Orlok was actually a real vampire and they were filming Nosferatu for real with a real vampire? Funny movie. Good companion with this movie. But, I think it would not have worked as well if they just completely redid everything and made it the same type of rat-faced looking bald man with this like little thin teeth. Like, I don't think it works, because this is, even though it's a remake of a movie that came out, in 1922, this is a very different take on this monster than I'd seen previously. This dives a lot into the occult, which none of the other films ever really touched on. And especially when you realize, like, and I did research for this, that Albin Grau, who was the producer, was an occultist of the, he was the producer of the original 1922 film, was an occultist. Like, that was his thing. And that's why, like, when you see a lot of the contracts and they have like occult symbols on them, that's him. He contributed that. But, Eggers, he goes ahead and he just, there you go.
That's the I don't know if you guys can see it. I hope you can. It's the Count Orlok sigil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has heavily occult references in this movie. And like, Nosferatu isn't just a vampire. He is quite literally a curse and plague that is rooted in the occult. And that is something that none of the other movies have added. And so I think because of that, you could not just have a bald rat-faced looking vampire in this. It had to be something much more. It took me a while to get that.
I think Skarsgard was an inspired choice for Orlok, just because not because he is typecast as a monster, but he's a tall guy. He's a big guy. So the monster fucker.
You met him in person, right?
I did. That's one of my biggest flexes, right? I met him, and I'll get to that. But I think he was an inspired choice because the monster fuckers were on board before they even saw him. They were like, yup. Monster fuckers. Yup. That's what they call themselves. I'm not even just being, that's what they say. And I'm friends with a lot of them because I read a lot of smut. All right. So like the monster fuckers that are in my comment sections, they're like, Bill Skarsgard, sign me up. Don't even care if he's dead. Yep, good. Like, they don't care. So I mean, they were down for him as it. So of course they're going to be down for him as Orlok. But yes, I did meet him briefly. It was at the Cannes Film Festival in 2013, I believe. And he was across the room, and the person I was with knew him. So I said, I thought it was his brother, and I was so excited because I was like, holy fucking shit, is that Alexander Skarsgård? And the person I was with was like, no, it's his little brother. Do you want to meet him? And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to meet him. But at the time, his English was not so good. So, and my French was not so good at that time. So the only common language we had was French. So we spoke maybe 10 words to each other in French. He was very polite, very tall. He's very tall in person.
That's awesome. Yeah. Monster fuckers. I've never heard that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Monster fuck. I found this out. So on my channel, my TikTok channel, if anybody follows me, we played a game called Alien Smash or Pass. And what we found out through, playing these rounds of Alien Smasher Pass is that it's always Smash.
It's always
Smash. There's always someone. Yep, it's always Smash. So I learned that, and then they dubbed themselves Monster Fuckers, and that's I love that for them.
That's a T-shirt right there. I'm telling you, you got to hop on that. Get a T Public store, make a T-shirt that says Monster Fuckers.
Oh my gosh!
Wait a minute, Monster Fuckers? You mean Kevin Spacey?
Oh, nice. He was acquitted, John.
No, he paid them off.
He's completely innocent.
Allegedly.
When I
Yeah.
was living in Hollywood, I found out about Spacey in like the worst way because I was in a car full of other actors, and this is a true story. We were on our way to the beach or something, and someone brought up Spacey, and they all started laughing, and I was like, Kevin Spacey, oh my God, I love him. And the car got really quiet. And they were like, I mean, you do know he likes little boys, right? And I was like, allegedly. And I was like, what? And they're like, how do you not know? Like, that is like common knowledge in Hollywood. And I was like, I mean, I'm not a younger gentleman, so maybe I'm not on the chopping block for him. Like, I got to worry about everybody else, I got to worry about literally everybody else. But I didn't know about him. And they were like, oh, babe, it's like common knowledge. But I was like, wow, well, that's a bummer.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I don't have to worry about him. Meanwhile, Harvey Weinstein sniffing your panties.
Oh, everybody knows not to meet him for a dinner meeting. Everybody knew that. Before that happened, everybody knew that was common knowledge with him. Don't.
Come to my hotel room and watch me wash my ass.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get a part and scream 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew a girl that went to one of his meetings.
Oh,
I'm not gonna say anything else, but yeah, that was very clear. That was common knowledge in Hollywood. Everyone knew about Weinstein being a creep.
Well, getting back to Nosferatu, what I find interesting.
Is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about. We could talk all day about Harvey Weinstein and how he's a gross piece of shit, and
may he rot in jail. Yes,
may he rot in jail. But speaking of rotting, corpses, Nosferatu. I did a transition there.
I like it.
What I find most interesting about Nosferatu, especially when you read into this movie, is that I think that this film is the result of 10 years of development. Eggers wanted to make this movie for the longest time, and I think he in high school made a play related to Nosferatu, like he did a theatrical version of this.
That sounds about right.
And so like what we're seeing, I think this is the reason why like our reaction to it is so strong, is that this is a movie made by a man who is a 100% fan first. He didn't make this for money. I mean, obviously there's money involved, but he didn't like make this as like, yes, I'm doing this to fulfill my contractual obligation to, this studio. It's like, no. This is a man whose love of this particular character, this story, and this thing is probably the reason why he got into film in the first place. And that's why it's an absolute passion film. And we don't see that a whole lot. I think that's also the reason why Dune works really well. Denis Villeneuve, he has said on multiple interviews that he is an absolute fan first of Dune and that universe. So it makes sense when you watch the movie. You're just like, you're seeing that passion transferred to you as the audience member.
And there's something to be said about that, where it's like a passion, but it's not just some plucky upstart director that Marvel grabs for Thor 9 or Ant-Man 5.
I knew you were going to bash Marvel. I'm like, yeah, it's going to go to it. Which is true. It's true, though.
And what is so beautiful about this film is that if you've seen the silent film, you can follow the beats. But what is incredible about modern day filmmaking is that he can take what is not said because it's a silent film and expound on that.
Yep.
So he can follow the original film, but fill in the gaps of things that just weren't said or weren't they didn't have time for, or censor wise. I mean, this is before the censor boards, but that they couldn't show. Mm-hmm. Nobody's fucking a corpse in 1922.
Well,
You know,
well.
but-
I knew.
Don't say nobody. I mean,
Don't
historically,
say
film,
nobody.
on film.
historically
Yeah.
it's been going on since Egypt. That's why they left female mummies to rot for weeks longer so that they weren't abused post-mortem. And that's
The more you know.
fact. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yep. And by the way,
I didn't know that.
if we're talking about fucking corpses, I mean, the Orlok in at the end, I mean,
Yeah.
the monster fucker.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, let's talk about that a
Cleo
little bit.
Thirst Trappa.
There. Well, here's the thing. I was sitting next to John, and the minute that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Harding basically fucks his wife's corpse, I was like, okay. Like, I was like, oh, okay. I looked at him, I like, holy shit, we just went there.
spoilers,
he kept
by the
saying
way.
the whole movie. Well, here's the thing, Jordan. Anyone who listens to our podcast knows that we can't keep spoilers to ourselves. That it will be said. So
Okay, great. Well, if we're doing
and-
spoilers, then we're going to talk
totally,
about.
dude.
Then we're going to talk about the wiener.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about the wiener and the corpse fucking. But like, I don't know about you, but like the whole time that like Harding's like, I can't resist my wife. Like, I'm just like, that's a little strange to say to your best friend. Like, just be like, hey, buddy, how you doing today? Oh no, I can't resist my wife. That's why we're having more kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And it got said a couple of times, like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then we get to the wife dies, and he's just like, in his utter despair, like, I'm just gonna fuck the corpse and die on top of her.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, it went there, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay.
It made
And
everybody
this is-
uncomfortable, I think, in the good way. You know, like when you're
Oh,
you know,
well,
art's
yeah.
supposed to make you feel something, and it achieves this.
Well, I mean, to me, like you know, as I said, like each character kind of taps into a different emotion. Like Aaron Taylor Johnson shows, you know, a person who's at the upper echelon of society at this time period, and how one event can completely and utterly destroy that entire foundation and then just drive him into the utter levels of depression and sadness. Like he gets it in the, I think, the worst way because his whole family is killed.
Yeah,
His whole family is killed.
I mean, they definitely break that
surprised-
rule that you're not supposed to kill kids in movies.
No, they do. They do it right in front of you.
They do
Oh,
it
I
right in
love
front
that.
of you.
I love that, by the way. But,
Oh no, it takes balls, and it's one of those things that, like I've said, that horror, when it works well, it finds the most innocent thing and then corrupts it or destroys it.
Yes, I love that.
That's how it works.
And well, the thing is, like people of that era, he has lit candles on a dried up pine tree, and that's not what kills everybody.
We forgot to mention, by the way, that Nosferatu is in fact a Christmas movie.
It sure
Yes.
is.
And I was not sure how they were going to do that, how they were going to make this movie a Christmas film. Like, why are you releasing around Christmas Day? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And you watch them and you're like, oh, this is taking place at Christmas time in Germany, or not Germany, but England. It is Germany, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Transylvania, and then
Yeah.
England.
What's you got? Okay, what are your favorite Christmas movies, guys? And if one of you takes mine, I'm going to be real mad.
Favorite Christmas movie?
Favorite Christmas movie, yeah.
Like just all around?
give me like top 2 or 3.
Scrooged. And I would say I like Christmas Vacation. That's a good one. Scrooge and Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, Christmas Vacation. I would say Die Hard, and if I want to give an ironic one, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Jordan, what about you?
Batman Returns.
Ah,
Just watched that last night.
I mean, Batman Returns. That's not just a Christmas movie. That's up there with like best movie.
Yeah.
You know. Although I have problems and listen to our back catalog. That was actually our first episode, believe it or not.
Batman
Was on
Returns? No
Returns.
way.
Yes, that was our first episode, and
we were just babies.
we were just babies back then. We weren't doing video at all. We were stumbling around with how this whole podcast things work. And my biggest thing coming out for that was this: that even though I love Batman Returns, saw it in theaters when it came out, when I was like 6.
92, right?
Yeah, 92. So I'm old. And I said the one thing that I have a problem with, and John will criticize me all day, is that I found that the bat signals on the outside of Wayne Manor that were reflecting everything
That is
kind of didn't make any sense because
that is
hold on,
30
John.
seconds.
Hold
of the
on,
movie.
John.
Okay.
Hold on, John. Jordan has never seen this, so like as a fan of Batman Returns, she might get this. But don't you think it's a little strange that the only place the signals will shine is in his library? What if Batman's taking a shit?
It's a little conspicuous. It's a little conspicuous too. Like, hey, let's shine it on this billionaire's mansion real quick. Batman should surely see this.
Or like if you're like contracted to go to Wayne Manor, because let's be honest here, Alfred can do a lot of things, but he is not doing all of the things. He might have a contract to come in. Wouldn't the contractor be like, it's a little weird that this Wayne guy's got giant circular mirrors all over the place, and they seem to only shine in one area of the house?
Isn't it weird that he has a whole underground layer? Like, who built that?
Or why is all the electricity in the house going down to an area that I can't reach?
Like, I mean, Batman. Like, listen. Like, I saw a comment about like the Luigi Mangione case that's going on right now, and there was a debate over whether Batman would be on his side, and it's like, no, Batman wouldn't be on his side. He's a billionaire.
He's a billionaire.
He's much as criminal. I love Batman, like,
he wouldn't.
No, he would not be on his side. People are like, yeah, no, I think Batman would be on his side. I'm like, I don't think you guys get who Batman is.
No, I think if you were to say what comic book character would be on his side, would be probably the Punisher. Yes, the Punisher, and maybe Rorschach. I could see Rorschach from Watchmen being on Luigi's side. That's
what happened for the day. What happened to this podcast? Vampires.
Yeah, this happens a lot, by the way, Jordan. Just so you know, where we go on tangents and then we kind of bring it back.
It's all your goddamn fault, Jordan.
It is my fault. I'm going to be talking about ADD, guys. You got to keep me on track.
It's cool. It's cool. So let's actually get into some of these characters that individually. Like, I'll be the first to say this. Lily Rose Depp stole the fucking show.
Agree.
So did her nipples.
Yes.
I must say. Well done. Well done, Johnny.
Yeah, you got good chowder there,
got
Johnny.
Good genes. I mean, her mother's beautiful too, isn't she? A model?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
You got Johnny Depp and a model. You're gonna make a pretty kid, you know.
Her genes did the heavy lifting. Let's be honest. Yeah.
She's extremely talented, though. That was actually the first thing I've seen her in, and I was super impressed with her. Her range was, I mean, she killed it. She nailed that role.
Yeah, I was surprised. So I'd seen her in the Kevin Smith film Yoga Hosers.
I'm sorry.
It was really bad. So like I only knew her from those kind of comedic films. I think she was also in Tusk. And
was she in Tusk?
Character. Yeah. Her and Kevin Smith's daughter were in that movie. They play the same characters.
I was gonna say, well, I've seen Tusk, but I don't remember seeing her in it. But I remember seeing Johnny Depp in it briefly.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that she's in Tusk just momentarily as like the same character she plays in Yoga Hosers. So I was when I saw that she was cast in it, because I think originally Eggers' wife was going to be that character. And I'm blanking on her name because it's still early in the morning for me.
Miss Eggers.
Yeah. But it'll hit me. I was surprised that she was in it, and I was like, oh well, how is this gonna work? But man, she's got some range. The best scene for her, in my opinion, was just that possession scene where she like her whole back goes up and then like her eye. I was just like, holy shit. Like it goes from like 0 to an 11 in about 5 seconds within that scene. And I'm like, if this woman doesn't win a Best Actress Oscar, then what the fuck? Because like there is no way in hell that anyone else could do that the way that she did.
Her physicality was disturbing. Like I don't know how to describe it other than that. Like it looks like she for sure does a lot of yoga. She was extremely flexible in ways that, you know, disturbed me in a way that were reminiscent of Reagan in The Exorcist. If I can make that comparison.
Oh yeah. No, it definitely had vibes of The Exorcist there without the, you know, crippling that occurred to Reagan.
Yeah.
I think Yeah, without the crippling. But that's a story for another day.
I did appreciate her flexibility. That was my favorite unit in gym class was the gymnastics unit because I'm very, very flexible. One of my favorite stunts I used to do in school was to put my leg behind my head, stand up, and hop around on one leg. So whenever I see somebody who was using that ability, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
No, you really were that flexible?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I can still technically do it. It just hurts like shit now.
Yeah, you want to stretch first.
You got to stretch. A lot of stretching.
Yeah, I was a gymnast for 9 years, very flexible up until the last few years, and now I'm like real crickety. Everything cracks.
Well, see, that would be the problem. I would do it, and the people would be like, "Do it again." I'm like, that's not the easiest thing to put my leg behind my head and hop around, right?
We talked a little bit about Skarsgard. He is absolutely fucking terrifying. The voice is key with him. Nicholas Holt, interesting character. Him, I almost felt like he was our reaction to this.
Yeah.
Like everything that he did was like, if you're through the lens of the audience, you're looking through him.
Yeah, the normal person, the normal reaction to this happening. Yeah.
Completely ignorant of his wife's issues, which I'm like, okay, like if she's saying like, hey,
it was of that era.
Yeah, I know it was of that era, but like this guy is only concerned with like, hey, I want to get money for the family, which I get that, okay, but your wife who's narcoleptic and has been dealing with night terrors for decades and has told you probably a little bit of the history of, hey, what's going on with her, and she has a vision of you dying and horribleness. Maybe don't take the trip after she says that. I never understood that. I'm just like,
he's like, quiet woman, now
quiet woman,
be still while we strap you to the bed. Like that's what they did with women back then,
Yeah,
Brian, you're clearly not a salesman. Like, I mean, this is the commission of a lifetime.
I was gonna say, John, you have done sales. You understand a little bit of this. If your significant other said, I had a vision of you going to sell Aflac, and if you go to this creepy house to sell Aflac, that you might die and bring across, a plague of rats and vermin to the town.
I would have been like, bitch, that's $1 million life insurance policy. You're not fucking me on this one.
Honestly,
I heard that Orlok guy needs a lot of life insurance.
So, like, talking about Nicholas Holt, I'm a huge fan of Nicholas Holt. I think he's phenomenal. Yeah. He's done such good work. But I saw a comment online about Nick Holt in this movie, and it made me laugh so hard. So I got to tell y'all. Okay. Someone said, if I had a nickel for every single time Nicholas Holt played Dracula's little bitch, I would have 2 nickels. And that's still really weird.
That's true.
It's true. He loves vampire movies.
He really loves playing Nick Holt a bitch.
Lead. Can we get him a lead vampire role? I feel like it's time.
He's due.
He's due to step up to being, main vampire, or at least like second in command vampire.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's yet a Dracula, but maybe he's like a Dracula's bride.
Yeah. Can we make him like, the Dracula's rival or something? Like, give this man some teeth already. He's paid his dues.
I mean, he is stepping up to main villain status now with the new Superman movie. He's Lex Luthor.
DC and Marvel. Yeah.
No way, I didn't know that. Cool.
Oh yeah, he's Lex Luthor now, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I agree. He needs to totally step up to at least being like, I don't know, they're playing a Blade movie, so maybe he's like the main vampire in Blade.
Yeah. Let's give this man a vampire role, okay? He's been Dracula's bitch twice now, which is very weird.
Yeah, a little strange, but he does a good job of conveying terror. Like the scene in which he first meets Orlok and he's sitting next to him, and again, like what I was saying before, that they don't really show you a ton. The camera itself pans to him and his like shaking, violent reaction to seeing this creature for the first time and not showing us at all, and it like conveys to us very early on like, okay, yeah, this is a very different type of movie than I was expecting. This is real terror that we're seeing, and he does a good job of conveying it. Something that I didn't see a lot in the Renfield movie. You know,
That movie just sucked ass.
it really did suck.
It was not my favorite, I'm going to be honest. Although I watched it, I found it funny, but like it's not rewatchable for me. That's the thing. If something's not rewatchable, then like even if I'm like, oh no, that was fun for the time, like I don't want to rewatch it. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I only watched it because Nick Cage was Dracula. That's the entire thing that got
that's
me
the only
in the
reason
theater.
why.
I mean, of course, right. I think Nick Cage did a great job. What was the one he not Long Legs. I didn't dig that one. But the one before, the Dream Scenario. I laughed so hard at Dream Scenario with Nick Cage.
Which one was that one?
That was my worst movie of the year, Brian.
Oh my god!
Was that the one when everybody is like thinking that? Is that the one where he's in everyone's dreams?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hate that one, John. I actually thought that was kind of funny.
It made me laugh out loud. The one scene, I laughed out loud when that man farted when he was getting a hand job. I laughed fucking out loud, like cackled.
We've all been there, mate. No, no, but Jordan, the reason it was my worst movie of the year was I thought the underlying subtext of, like your harassment is all in your head, is like that, like attack from Republicans, like, yo, you're too woke, like you're just making up your harassment, you know. And I was like,
I think he just played like the cuckiest cuck ever, and he really nailed that. So like that's why I like, because I was like, oh no, this is a more fitting role for Nick Cage. He's always trying to play like the badass or like, you know, and that role to me is, I'm like, oh no, he nailed that. I could see him like farting while he's getting a hand job in real life. Like I think that's why I like that.
Oh yeah, I totally farted. Continue stroking. Yeah.
It was also one where they didn't give him a hairpiece. Finally. You know, like
his hair pieces don't look good anymore. Like they used to be passable, not anymore. They don't. They look bad and fake.
Nikki needs more love.
Back to Nosferatu, guys. Come on, now I'm wrangling you.
You know, Willem Dafoe was surprising in this, and I'll say why I thought he was surprising in this. I was expecting crazy Willem Dafoe, like you see in just about every movie, and I thought he was way more restrained than I was used to.
You know, well, Brian, the theater we were in, there were a handful of chuckles based on his performance. So, I mean, you would turn out.
I heard y'all chuckling. I heard y'all chuckling throughout.
Okay, we chuckled. Okay, you know why we chuckled, Jordan? Because when he came first on screen, John like turned to me and said, "What did you say?" Like, "Hello, Spider-Man." Thanks up, Spider-Man. So like you're getting, you know, Willem Dafoe as the Van Helsing character, and he's like, "Hello, Spider-Man." So yeah, that is why we laughed at it. Because we're assholes.
Dafoe so much. I love him, like in pretty much everything. But the one scene
because he's a tripod.
I mean, allegedly, I haven't seen it, but I've heard stories. And we did not get a full frontal from him in this movie because it wouldn't have fit on the screen. I'm just kidding. No, but the one scene that Dafoe always stands out to me is Boondock Saints, where he's standing in the street and he's like, "There was a firefight," and like throws this huge fit, like talking about when they had the showdown. And so that's the Dafoe that I think of, is like that unhinged, like crazy guy.
That's my point. It's like I was expecting that. I was expecting an unhinged guy. And like you get a little bit of that, and even like in The Lighthouse, you know, Willem Dafoe was the unhinged guy.
Yeah.
You know, so like I was expecting that, and what you got instead was this very weird hermit character who clearly has been detached from reality, but is still like, he's not crazy, you know? And I think that's why you were getting kind of chuckles, John, is because like there were some lines that he was saying was just like, that's kind of funny. But in reaction to like all the horribleness happening on screen.
I was very disappointed that this is the first Robert Eggers movie where Willem Dafoe didn't fart.
Dude, The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's a gassy man.
the
know?
whole time.
He was a lighthouse keeper. It's sailors, so like that's why you're gonna get that.
Yeah.
They didn't care about farts back then.
Well, I mean, he farts in the Northman too. So
I was gonna say the Northman. He's that
does he
rugged guy.
I haven't seen it. I have to watch it now.
So, what are your favorite Eggers movies, guys? What's your
Lighthouse.
I would say this one.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
See, for me, I think.
I haven't seen the other two. That's the thing. Is like I have to watch those now.
So it's a toss up for me between Nosferatu and The Witch. I love The Witch, so it just depends. But Nosferatu might steer into first place. I mean, just because it was so visually just phenomenal, right? The Witch is very specific. It doesn't look like it was high budget. It looks like very shot in one place, And this was like they shot in castles, like actual historic venues. Like this movie is just stunning. Like I can't wait to see it again.
Well, that's the thing too, and I'm glad you brought up the shots of it. The cinematography in this thing was really interesting because, it paid homage to the original 1922 film. Like there weren't really a ton of close-ups. And that is, of course, indicative of those films from the 20s. Okay?
Yeah. They didn't have the technology.
They didn't have the technology. They didn't have the technology to do it. So, a lot of it is in medium shot. And he very sparingly decides to go into close-up. But outside of that, the camera moves in a way that I have seen in another horror film in a long time. And it's like, the scene that really picks it to me is when Hutter first shows up in the gypsy village, and you're seeing all the reaction of all the gypsies coming to him and that sort of thing. And they're like, you're a foreigner. We don't want you here, blah, blah, blah. And the camera is like moving through all of that, and it moves past him and then centers up on the innkeeper. You don't really see that in a horror movie ever. And he does this multiple times of probably combining and making these one-shot camera moves that both kind of break that whole feeling of, hey, it's supposed to be a remake of a silent film, right? That didn't really have camera movement, but we're going to add to it. That was something that I thought was really interesting. And on top of that, like the color palette is paying homage to it. A lot of deep blues and monotone, but then moving into warms and like orange or almost red at some points, and just really kind of hitting all of those marks there.
Brian, you think the innkeeper would be the last person that would want to tell, like, you don't belong here, go away. Like his whole livelihood is based on strangers staying at his inn. But
I don't know. He had a lot of people who were already there, so he's not like he's hurt.
Drinking and boozing, yeah.
And I mean, they already were going to sacrifice a naked woman on a horse to something
hot.
He was like, okay, I'm here for that. Popcorn.
Fun fact,
I've had weirder boners. Yeah, no.
Fun fact, I rode a horse naked for a photo shoot once. And
really?
Yeah, and if you've ever shrouded a horse without any underwear on, a lot of horsehair in places you don't want it. So I feel for the actress that had to do that. I've had to do it. This
is why we got to have Jordan on more often, because she can give us real, like, firsthand knowledge of some of these things. John and I have never ridden a horse naked, so we wouldn't know.
I grew up riding horses.
Brian,
so what?
You don't know me.
That's right. I didn't know that you were that flexible.
Yeah.
I did not. I never knew that. I've known John for years. I never knew that he could be that flexible.
So, Jordan, what you're saying is you queefed out a Greek man's back.
Well, it was a white horse, so less Greek.
Older Greek man's back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But yeah, I actually got, there was like 5 or 6 models for that shoot, and I was the only one because they all looked at us and said, has anyone ridden horses? And me stupidly said, my whole life. And they said, this is for you then. We got to get you on his back.
Clothes. Hose it down.
You're like, I don't want to.
Yeah, it was great times. Really great stuff.
Here's some baby oil, honey. Get on the horse.
Yeah, there's been shoots that have sounded not dissimilar to that. So yeah, the weird industry.
lot of gold rings.
A lot of weirdos out there.
Why got all the gold rings in them?
We used to call them GWCs, guys with camera. So just like random guys will message you like, hey, honey, can we get this shot with you? And you're like, what? For what for? It's for my personal portfolio. I bet it is, creep. No, stop emailing me. But there's a lot of those out there. This was a legitimate
Extra.
shoot, though. This was a good shoot, but it was.
Okay.
I only had to be on the horse for about 10 minutes for this, but it's uncomfortable.
It's 2 minutes too long.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable without pants on.
Extra 100 for a shot of your butthole. Anyway.
Gross.
No,
Nosferatu.
he's not wrong.
Nosferatu.
He's not
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah. Speaking of buttholes, so in Nosferatu there is a nude scene, several of them.
There's a couple nude scenes in this. I was kind of surprised. You've got the guy who I seriously thought was Roman Polanski for a minute there. And he's not. The Knock character.
Wait, you saw somebody have sex with a kid?
No.
Oh.
No. No. I meant the character of Knock. I seriously, for a moment, thought that was Roman Polanski.
Oh,
Because
okay.
his face looks just like him. It's not. It's another character who you honestly, if there's not a shared genetic connection there, I'm completely surprised. But he's naked and like conjuring up Nosferatu with like blood sacrifice and shit.
yeah, I remember that.
And-
you
and-
like almost
yeah.
see his wiener, but
You
don't.
almost see his
You
wiener.
almost see the
You
wiener. You see one wiener.
I
You
was
see
sad. when it did.
Yeah.
My question about the
Tell me
wiener.
about the wiener that you really noticed.
The wiener
Sorry,
that
Jordan.
you do see.
Jordan
I
has a
must
question
say,
about wieners.
I
Okay,
was
yeah.
not sure that this was a real wiener, and I still don't know. It might have been. I mean, everything else on him is a prosthetic, right? And
It could be a prosthetic wiener.
I saw an interview where he said it was like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to become Orlok. So like, I mean, they did everything. They did the palms of his hands. They did everything, right? So I can't see why they would do everything and not the wiener. You know, like you
Wiener.
would think,
Wiener.
but you
Well-
do see a wiener very quickly.
Well, he's very, very soft and very, very bored. I feel like if I was an actor and I was very vain, I would say, if you're gonna make it a prosthetic, make it like a 8-inch prosthetic.
Yeah,
like,
huge.
you know, like I would want to
A
make
Defoe,
make
if
it
you
huge.
will.
Yeah,
or a
Defoe.
Fassbender.
A Fassbender. Oh yeah, his humongous.
John's a little
throbbing
obsessed
penis.
with Fassbender's junk. Like it's been a constant thing that's brought up on the podcast whenever we talk about wieners.
Wieners.
Have you
Is-
seen
is
Jordan? Have you seen the movie Shame?
No,
About
oh my god, you have to watch
I'm gonna
it.
write it down now because I gotta.
he's a sex addict in the movie, and there's a scene where he just like in the middle of the night takes a piss, and he comes out. I mean, soft as soft can be, but he's like it's hitting his kneecaps.
Is it really
like,
his?
I'm like, oh yeah, full frontal, and I'm like, God, fucking shit! Look at that thing.
They gave Dirk Diggler a fake one for.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
a fake one.
Yeah. So like, I was like, well, it might be a fake, right? Like, so you never know. But that's really his. All right. Well, we'll just have to watch
Well,
it and see.
That's what I'm saying. Like, either get him a naked woman or feed it an apple. You know what I mean? Like,
My goodness.
but yeah, no. I think it probably is his real dick because it's just so like flaccid and bored. Like all of us who are growers, not showers. You know.
I myself am also a grower, so you know.
To propose a riddle.
Gagged him.
Riddle.
Did it. Yeah.
Riddle. Yeah, but yeah, wieners were abound in this movie. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. There was
And,
definitely some nude scenes.
Yeah, and the whole like ending with this where Orlok like we see everything.
The
that
ending I
was-
think
was
was
kinda-
cool. I liked it.
What was that?
I liked the ending.
Well, yeah, the ending was really interesting. I mean, one, like if you've seen any version of Nosferatu, like it's the same beat. You know, Helen kind of she sacrifices herself and does it in a way that basically says fuck you to everyone else. Like, fuck you to her husband, fuck you to, Van Helsing's character.
Which is kind of fair,
And-
as a woman.
Yeah.
It's kind of fair. Like, he didn't believe her the whole time, strapping her to the
Yes.
bed and shit. Like, yeah, let her make her own decisions because all the decisions they were making for her weren't fucking working.
Well, they were all like, well, I'm going to go take care of the monster. It's like, fuck you not. It's like, we're in this situation because you wouldn't fucking listen to me.
Yeah.
You're the one who decided, hey, I got to go to Transylvania and go, spend some money. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to take care of this. And she does. Like, she sacrifices herself. Also, like, has sex with Orlok, which that never really was in any of the movies. Any of the versions, it's always just like Orlok sucks her blood, and the blood is what kind of keeps him like satiated to the point where he doesn't realize the sun is coming up. So like, you know, John, you mentioned earlier in the episode that this movie does a good job of kind of filling in the gaps of what could not have been shown. And, you know, vampirism always has had its roots in sexuality.
I think it got
all through time.
hypersexualized in the 80s and 90s, like to the point
Well,
of
hypersexualized, yes. But like, even if you go back to like Dracula movies that
Yeah,
came
Bram
out in
Stoker.
the 30s,
The subtext is there.
the subtext has always been there. So, you know, to see them like go full force and like, yeah, not only is he like sucking the blood, but he's also like banging. And it's a corpse, like quite literally a rotted corpse.
I like to shit on people's days when I talk about vampires fucking, because it really depends on the lore, whether or not they physically can. Because if they're dead, they don't have a heartbeat, they don't have blood pressure, which we know you need.
Yeah.
Right? So if Orlok's a corpse, I mean, we know there's, like you were saying, there's sort of like the paranormal aspect to this, you know, like the occult, you know, so maybe he has a magic undead wiener, right? So it's magical. But like without blood pressure, it's not going anywhere, babe. You got to like magic that boy awake.
Well, maybe that's why he has to drink her blood as he's having sex with her.
Yeah,
right. Like
blood.
it's a one way like pump type deal.
Sure.
You know,
it's whiskey dick, but it's constant whiskey dick. Like, you know, like when you need a girl to put a finger up your ass or have her call you daddy or something.
This sounds personal.
It sounds personal. Sounds like from experience, John. You could talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, it's like when you have a girl call you John Robert Williscroft Sr. Professor Williscroft. I'm just improving now, guys.
You're like, no, I'm not saying that's my kink at all. But I what gets for me, like, again, kind of try to hit the point, like they added in the sexuality in a way that was also disgusting. Like it was not something like, I mean, you know, you can go back to True Blood, and that is the most sexualized vampirism ever.
That's just softcore with teeth.
It is absolutely softcore with teeth. But this is like, hey, yeah, we're going to include that, but we're also going to make them corpses.
Yeah.
I can see how certain people could like spank it to True Blood. Nobody's spanking it to the sexual.
No, Rule 34 of the internet. That's not true. Someone's absolutely spanking that scene.
That's true.
There's always
the average person is not spanking.
There's always someone, though. There's always someone. There's people that'll jerk at the traffic cones.
Oh shit, Muppet babies! Let me get the lube.
You laugh, but it's true, man. I've been a woman on the internet. Trust me, I know.
There's always somebody.
There's always at least one. Mm-hmm. And not knocking. I don't want to yuck on anybody's yum. I'm just saying, Rule 34 of the internet is that it exists.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Well, kind of in closing this, I mean, what is your thoughts on this in terms of like the legacy of this movie and just its legacy in horror? What do you think of Nosferatu's place in that?
Me?
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan.
Oh,
go
cool. So I think that with any type of remake, you know, if we're talking about a legacy here, you know, obviously the original Nosferatu came out in 1922, the same year they discovered King Tut's tomb. So that's how I remember. And of course, like during COVID in 2022, I'm assuming that's when this movie reached the public domain to where they could remake it, right? And of course, it was delayed a few more years because I'm assuming of COVID. So seeing this movie essentially come out 102 years later from the original. And with Hollywood nowadays, it's a lot cheaper for them to remake a movie that they already own the rights to, as opposed to hiring writers to write something else, which is why we see all of these soulless cash grabs of remakes that no one fucking asked for and nobody wanted. It's because these studios just crank out bullshit. Nosferatu is not that. Nosferatu is a piece of art in and of itself, from the start to the finish, from the cast, the score, the cinematography. Everything in this movie is a masterpiece. I think it's going to sweep at awards season. Personally, like I said, between this and The Witch, I think Nosferatu is going to go into first place for my Eggers movies. And this isn't even an original. You know, he's remaking someone else's, like, that classic. So solidifying Nosferatu's legacy, I would say, with this piece, like, oh my gosh, Eggers, well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. John, your thoughts on this as it pertains to horror and its place in the genre.
Well, I think it's fascinating to put into context the original silent film because, you know, you're not going to see a remake of The Great Train Robbery.
No.
You know, this silent film, and there were many great silent films, but this one stands out as something that still stands in the cultural zeitgeist, that it deems worthy of a remake, and especially one that is, as we've mentioned before, this is just because they couldn't make Dracula, so they made Dracula without the word Dracula. And so, you know, we have Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Coppola movie of the 90s, you know, but this is not a Dracula remake. This is a Nosferatu remake, which is fascinating in and of itself. And it's so incredible that they just fill in the gaps of not only what they couldn't do with the silent film, but also what they couldn't do with the silent film, i.e., you know, some of the more vulgar or aggressive, horrific elements of it. So yeah, I'm so glad that it was a director like Robert Eggers who truly appreciated the medium and evolved it. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the sentiments that both you have. I mean, for me, you know, horror has had ups and downs for decades. You know, we've seen trends where it's like, hey, now we're going to go into slasher territory, and we're going to do that for like 10 years. And then we're going to go do the meta slasher territory, and we're going to do that for another 10 years. And all the while, I think it misses the point of what horror is supposed to do. It's supposed to terrify the audience. That's its job. You know, that's why you go and watch a horror movie. Is we all, just like when we go ride a roller coaster, we want the thrill, right? And it's very few and far between where you get a horror movie that does that in spades, literally from the start of the first frame to the end of the last frame, and does it in a way that is so artful and makes every image beautiful while at the same time invoking that terror, and then at the same time giving you characters that you're like locked in on. And yeah, there are moments where you're going to go like, that part's funny, because there always are, you know, but like out of watching this movie, I'm just like, I can't think of another time where I've seen a horror movie treat the genre with so much respect and give the audience exactly what they want. You know, horror has had a history of just trying to cater to the least common denominator, in my opinion. And it's had that reputation in the industry itself as that's the redheaded stepchild genre. You know, that's the one that, yeah, it's cheap to make. Masses will go to see it. Doesn't matter what the fuck you put on screen. As long as it's got titty and gore, you're good. You know,
boobs and blood.
Boobs and blood. And there's nothing wrong with that. But just like with eating the same fast food hamburger day in and day out, it gets a little old. And sometimes you want a filet mignon. And Nosferatu is absolutely the filet mignon.
I think Nosferatu is a dry-aged ribeye with a fine reduction and like the full sides, like that. It's horror handled with reverence, like absolutely.
And I think a lot of that comes down to Eggers' passion with this film and with these characters, and with this material, and also his spin. I would not be surprised if Eggers himself was into the occult, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, because every movie that he's made kind of dives into that. And this one, being his most personal, tells me that completely. And as I said, I have not been this blown away by a vampire film in a very long time. Like, this is one I would say, go in the theater and see this. Don't just wait for streaming. Absolutely take the time, go to a theater, because that experience is something you won't be able to get on streaming. And then buy this movie.
Yeah.
I like physical, buy the movie, own it, because it is one of those movies that, you know, I really think is going to stick around with people 10, 20, 15 years down the road. I really believe that.
I do have to say, like, anytime that 2 or 3 people just completely agree on this thing, we are not bought and sold.
No.
No.
Don't
You're
get
not
wrong.
being paid for this.
Yeah.
No,
genuinely.
like seriously, like we got to see the movie in advance. So I will disclose that. Yes, we got to see it in advance.
But Brian, you and I shit on most movies.
The last time that John and I went to an advanced screening, we were just like, oh fuck. That was our Megalopolis screening. We went to go see that, and we shit on the movie. And we even said, we're like, they're never gonna invite us back again. But lo and behold, they did. And so yes, we went and saw this movie in advance. But this is 100% unbiased review of this.
I was not paid. I was not.
Jordan was not paid at all.
I wish I would have got to go to one of the premieres or something, but no. I like this. I'm a fan, so I'm I'm a nerd. I'm just a movie nerd. So like I was so grateful that you guys invited me. I never get to go to that kind of stuff in Pittsburgh, so it was awesome.
Yeah. But well, Jordan, I wanted to spend a little time talking about you. And what you got going on. So what's going on your end? You got any projects or anything you're working on that you want to like share to our
I told you briefly
audience?
It's a little too early to talk about.
Okay.
I am working on my first book. All I can really tell you about it is that the title is Cemetery Blackberries, and I'm currently working on that. I'll have more info on that when I can, but that's essentially right now. If you want to follow me on socials, it's at Jordan the Grey Witch on TikTok, Blue Sky, and Instagram. That's the only social media I have. But yeah, this is my dream, being able to like talk about this kind of thing, go to nerdy events. Like that's all I do anyway in my free time. So like if I get to do that, it's the best.
Blue Sky is that like replacement for Twitter?
We're on
Twitter.
Blue Sky, John. We're on Blue Sky.
It's the new Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I gotta ask you, and obviously you're probably sick and tired hearing this. What the fuck is gonna happen if TikTok gets banned?
So
do you think it's gonna get banned?
I'm gonna try and remain positive and say that it's not. I think it would be a stupid choice for the government to do this. I mean, the reason that they're doing it is they're saying that it's stealing our data. This app is doing nothing that Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, any other app is not already doing. The problem is that our oligarchy, the overlords, Bezos, Zuckerberg, and Musk are losing money to TikTok. So not only are they losing money because the TikTok shop is taking money from Bezos, it's taking money from the other platforms, but not only that, they can't control the narrative on TikTok because it is not a United States based company. They can't feed us the filtered media that they want us to see. TikTok's the real deal. Like their algorithm shows you what you engage with, what you want to see, and they can't control that. So the legacy media companies are not happy about TikTok breaking news stories before they're getting the okay from the oligarchs. Can we talk about this? TikTok's telling you the truth. So, and not to say that everything on there that you see is truth, but it's real people. It's real people like you and me. Like I'm a creator on there. I'm just a regular guy, like, and I became like this creator now that so many people come to my channel every day. So I'm really hoping that they don't take that. I think it would be insanely stupid to remove everybody's favorite toy in late stage capitalism where a lot of people would have a lot of free time without TikTok.
I'm glad you said that because the whole thing too, like I only have recently gotten to TikTok, not to the extent as some other people, like in the past, couple of years. And it's a thing that history has taught me that if you remove their bread and their circuses, the population doesn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
Other than, guillotine level stuff, just pointing out, not advocating for that at all, but just saying history kind of is a primer for this sort of thing. Like you remove the circuses and bread and then people don't have anything else to lose.
I fully agree. And I think that will be somebody's reason. Like if people are scrolling,
away, I can't afford food. There you go.
If they're scrolling, they're happy. They're home. Yeah. When you take that away, we're not going to go back to Instagram, to Twitter. Those places suck. People don't want to be there. I haven't had Facebook since 2020. I deleted it because, oh my God, wow, over there, flaming
Okay, you
dumpster
young
fire.
whippersnapper.
It's rough.
John has yet to dive into TikTok. You I don't think you're on TikTok, are you?
Well, you guys are my age.
No, I technically do, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, Jordan being like, well, I'm young. I don't need the Facebook.
How young do you think I am? Hold up. I need to know how young you think I am, because this is great.
Are you 28?
10 years ago.
Oh.
Oh, you're our age.
I was born in 86.
Okay. So you're
right,
younger
85.
than
Yeah,
you're younger
okay.
than me. We're 85.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you baby, you were born 365 days after me.
I love
Yeah.
that, though. No, it's there's a place for community, I think, that TikTok has that the other apps don't have, and John, I feel you, because before I was on TikTok, I felt the same way. I was like, whatever. And then when you get on it, you see how superior the algorithm is to cater to you. And when you're scrolling, you're like, this bitch knows me personally. Like, what in the, like, you'll see something, you're like, this was for me. Like, when they say For You page, they mean that.
Yeah.
Like, they will know what year you were born. They will know everything about you, your sexual orientation. Like, they know it in the first 10 minutes that you're scrolling. It's jarring.
It's kind of creepy, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing where use of it really does tell them exactly what the type of person you are. And I can see the danger of that to a point. But I also go with, like, isn't that what all entertainment is trying to do, is give the audience what they want?
I mean, we literally just watched a South African billionaire purchase the United States election with the help of the app that he bought, but TikTok's the problem.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean President Musk?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
President
exactly
Musk.
who I was referring to. Right, President Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Awesome.
come on, guys. We can see what's dangerous and what's not. And TikTok's not dangerous, but it hurts their wallets, and they don't like that.
Oh, yeah. And let's be honest here. Anything that hurts their wallets, they have to immediately get. I love the fact that everyone came together to ban this app, but we can't at all come together to stop, like, school shootings or give us free healthcare or, I don't know, like, not pollute the air and water.
I can't have a legitimate conversation with somebody that's more worried about feminine care products being in bathrooms than they are about bullets being in children.
Yeah.
I can't you can't talk to those people. Like,
No.
they want to ban an app before they ban things that are actually killing people. Before we actually
spying on the American people. Bullshit. That's our fucking job.
Exactly. Right. And it's like the Chinese are stealing your data. What are they stealing? That I sit at home for 6 hours scrolling, and that I watch these little fucking how to make these Pop-Tarts, homemade Pop-Tarts? Like, get fucked. Good.
Yeah,
I hope they
so
hope they know that's
market
what I
to us
like.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like, who cares?
They're all stealing your data.
Right.
It's not an exclusive club.
Right.
They're all doing it. If you go on the internet, guarantee you, someone stole your data. How many times have you had data leaks from companies that have said, "Oh, we don't have leaks and we don't have problems"? Jesus Christ! You have credit companies that have data leaks. It's part of being a citizen in 2024. Is your shit is not private.
Look what happened to 23andMe.
Yeah,
that thing that everyone said was going to happen.
Yeah, I was like,
happened.
and that. I'll be honest with you. That's why I never put any of my DNA. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Same.
Shit.
That's the first time I ever noticed it was 2007, because like back in the old days of Facebook, they would be like, if you went into your status, you could like put your favorites of things and stuff like that. And what near the top was George Carlin for me. He's my hero. And then back when ads were on the side, not just when you scrolled, I saw an advertisement for his autobiography that I didn't even know he had written.
Yeah.
And I was like, how does Facebook know that I want to read this book? And that was like the eye-opening moment of like, oh, they're tracking my data.
I mean, the eye-opening moment for me was when I would have a conversation about something with my wife, and then 5 seconds later, when I'm scrolling Facebook,
get an ad
for the thing that I had a conversation for. Like, that's what I'm saying, is like the whole bullshit argument of, I don't want China. It's like, dude,
if you give Facebook access to your microphone, it's access to your microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brian's conversation was, about penis shrinking pills because Lauren's just like, you got to do something about this massive fucking hog, dude.
Yo, hey,
I
so
love
which
how this
brand did you
episode
use,
has
though? No,
become
because
about
I
that.
might need that. I also might need that.
Oh, geez. Well, I gotta tell you, this has been an absolute joy having you on, Jordan. I'm glad that we got to see Nosferatu and talk about the stage of TikTok and and how we all live in a dystopian
Hellscape.
future. Dystopian hellscape. Yeah. Where can people find more information about you? Where can they follow you at?
Like I said, so TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. So at Jordan the Great Witch, you'll find me. It's me.
She's got great videos. Telling you right now, I love them. There, even I've even was watching some of your makeup ones. I'm like, okay,
Aww.
cool. John, where can they find you at on the internets?
Just I don't know. Just follow Jordan. She'll probably tag me in something. No,
I will tag you guys today.
Instagram, Facebook, and over at Jay Does Video Nasties. Just in time when this is dropping is when hopefully my Batman Returns video will be dropping. So take a gander at that if you're listening to this. Be like, all right, well, I've gotten to the end of this. I'm going to see it all the way through because you want to listen all the way to the end. That helps us.
Yeah,
and then hit the bell and everything if you're on YouTube. But then go to my YouTube channel and do all the same YouTube stuff.
Yeah, it's good. John's channel is awesome. And honestly, like, he spends a lot of time on making these standalone videos that go even deeper than what we do on movies. So, with that said, if you have loved this podcast, do me a favor and share it with your friend. Like, seriously, if you're coming out of Nosferatu, you listen to our show, and then you're like, hey, you know what? My buddy down the street might want to listen to this podcast because these three are hilarious. Share the episode out. On top of that, go to our website, cinemapsychoshow.com/follow, and follow us on all the podcast platforms. We literally got all the buttons there. So if you love listening to audio only stuff, you just click a button and boom, you can follow us there on any podcast platform. And of course, if you are watching us here on YouTube, hey, thank you for doing that. Do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and tap the fucking bell. Why? Because YouTube's algorithm, unlike TikTok's, requires a lot of input from you all to really push it to other people who may have interest. So doing that, liking and subscribing and bell clicking shit really does help us out a ton. And with that said, we will see you next time.
Boxes full of clothes. Put on all your clogs. And please admire Brian's massive fucking hog.
What about mine?
And Jordan's massive lady hog. Happy winter solstice, everyone.